this all boils down to my wife's father. I have a young son who started living with me as his primary guardian when he was 3, and his mom returned to school. I met my wife through work and her father, who worked at the same company in a higher role than both of us. My wife knew I had a son, but I said I wouldn't introduce them unless we became a serious couple, because that wouldn't be fair to him. When my wife did meet my son, they got along really well. And I did her and her father over for dinner one night, and her father met my son for the first time. He was weird and awkward around my son and made strange comments about his appearance. His mom is black. I confronted him after dinner, and he made some pretty pathetic excuses. After that, I asked him not to contact me outside of work matters and asked her for space. A couple weeks later, my wife told me she had completely cut her father off for his beliefs. Thus, our relationship became stronger than ever. When we got engaged, she said she didn't want her father at the wedding. We both ended up transferring to other companies. As far as I knew, he was gone from both of our lives for good. My wife is pregnant and due in a month. She's already started maternity leave and has been looking for a new job to start after maternity leave because she doesn't want to stay at her current company. Yesterday, she sat me down and told me her dad got her an interview for a job at our old company. She also told me she's been talking to him for a couple of months and wants to know how I'd feel about him knowing our future child. I told her the truth. I told her I felt betrayed, and I felt like she betrayed my son, who she claimed to think of as her son as well. I told her that even asking me made her less of a person in my eyes. She started crying and asked me what kind of insensitive jerk would call the woman pregnant with his child less of a person. I told her that was how I felt, although the language was harsh. It matched what she was asking for. After cooling off, I'm now unsure if my word choice was warranted and wondering if I was an idiot for speaking to her that way while she was pregnant and more emotionally vulnerable. I could have just said I wasn't okay with what she was proposing without insulting her character. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You're right that your words were harsh. But harsh was appropriate. It takes a lesser person to want to invite toxicity into the home. And that's what your wife did. She's the one who needs to apologize for even the suggestion of her father coming back into your personal lives. That she's pregnant is not an excuse for the extreme breach of trust you committed. Everyone's the idiot here. I get you. I'd be mad too. I mean, what would happen down the line when her father's in the presence of both kids, but treats your son differently? I feel your feelings of betrayal are valid at this moment, but I think it was an idiotic move to call her less of a person. It's her father, and I understand her wanting to have him back in her life. You both could have had a more constructive conversation about this, regarding expectations moving forward and her dad's behavior towards both kids. Has the dad taken a new turn in his views, for instance? I don't know. I feel like it's fine for the wife to want her own father to know her kid. That's not a huge ask. To get up wishing to protect his own kid, but it's still a big deal to cut someone out completely, forever, with no mediation, nothing. Even the top comment reinforces this idea. Up as an idiot if the father-in-law can never have a path to mediation with his daughter's family. And you are the idiot. Well, Butcher, all she did was open the floor for a discussion. Appellations, there might be a chance her dad regrets his beliefs and the harm it's done to his relationships, mate. There might be a chance he wants to apologize. Or maybe not. There is no way to know because you dehumanized her from the get-go. What you said is terrible. And being your wife, I would question my future with you. You told your wife she was less of a person deliberately. You wanted to hurt her. And you did. And now you're seeking a way to make yourself feel better about it. Good luck. My 26-year-old female sister Layla, 32, recently lost her job, so she can't afford her apartment anymore. She's a single mother of 2 twin boys, pre-tween. I live alone with my cat, but I have a pretty good job that makes it so I can afford a nice 4-bedroom house. Since I have room, I decided to let Layla and the boys move in until she can find another apartment and job. I only have a few rules for them. Basic stuff, like if you break something, pay me back, keep things clean, and stuff like that. Except there's one rule that they seem to be having trouble with. I told Layla that no matter the circumstances, never let my cat into the garden. My cat is very prone to eating stuff he isn't supposed to, including the flowers in my garden. One time I accidentally let him out, and he chewed through half of them completely. So then I decided to just put him in my room whenever I go to the garden. A few weeks ago when I was at work, Layla told me the boys had accidentally let him into the garden. Thankfully, he didn't get out or anything, but he destroyed some of my roses again. I told Layla to put him in my room next time the boys went out to the garden, and she told me she would. Lo and behold, a week or so later, he gets into the garden again. My garden is pretty big, so I was pretty worried when I couldn't find him. Thankfully, after a few minutes of panic, I found him hiding behind a large bush, so he was fine. Scared me to death though, so I told Layla if it happened again, they could find another place to live. She got pretty mad at me and told me it was an accident, so I should just chill out. It's not that hard to put a cat in a room when you're in a garden. I do it all the time. And since I thought Layla had gotten the picture after that, because she listened to me and started shutting him in my room. At around 2 days ago, he got out again. This time he actually did escape, so I had to track him down. When I got home, Layla just said she was so sorry and that she just forgot to put him in my room. I was furious at this point. I mean, how hard is it to put a cat in a room? I told her that she better start packing her stuff because I wouldn't let her keep putting my cat's health in danger, just because she couldn't bring herself to lock a room. My parents don't have room for them all at their house, so Layla's staying with them while her ex-husband takes the boys. She's angry at me for kicking her out over nothing, and my mom is too, but my dad thinks she deserves it. Am I the idiot for kicking her out over nothing? She's been calling me a monster for separating her and her kids. Not the idiot. They had one job and 3 chances. It tells a lot about Layla's attitude that she says you're kicking her out over nothing. Yeah. When you need a roof over your head, and someone else is kind enough to provide one, it's on you to ensure you're as little trouble to them as possible. It's a simple, reasonable rule for the cat's safety, and your sister really doesn't seem to care if she ends up repaying your kind by potentially letting your cat eat something poisonous in the yard. Style, if she's not responsible enough to care for a cat, how is she responsible enough for her twin children? Her current living situation with parents and kids with an ex directly results from their behavior and actions. Rachel, I hate when people blame their circumstances on other people, when in fact their situation is a result of their own actions. Also, the kids have their father, so they aren't homeless, and she can figure out her situation. I used my fiancé card to cover my expenses as I stopped working after our baby and got engaged. He's never cared about what I've spent money on in the past and always reminds me that I can buy whatever I want. So I didn't think it would be an issue for me to buy my aunt a designer bag to celebrate her 50th birthday, but he's upset because I bought that bag for my aunt, but he thinks I try not to use his money on myself, which is true. The bag is the most expensive thing I've ever bought with his money, and it's something I've wanted to do for her for a long time, and that I was saving for before I stopped working. The way he said that I was quick to use his money on other people really upset me, so I told him I'd send it back, but he told me not to because that wasn't the point. I've been angry at him for the last few days, and we keep arguing, which hasn't been fun. During one argument, I told him I would use all of his money, and then he'd have a real reason to complain. But he kept saying I'm intentionally misunderstanding him. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. Really, you could have at least asked. Your aunt didn't need a designer bag for her birthday, not from your fiancé. By the term designer, it's likely not cheap. I see you didn't put a price in the story, and those bags can go into the thousands or tens of thousands. You are misunderstanding him intentionally or not. So I'm going to spell it out and hope you see it and don't ignore it, because you don't want to understand. You don't spend on actual needs. That's what he means by spending on others and not spending on yourself. You're totally fine with ignoring needs at home, not spending on things for yourself, but spending money like it's going out of style when you want to get a gift. If you had told him, hey, I spent $2 in one day on utilities, groceries, gas for the car, and I also bought something nice for myself, that would have been fine. If you'd discussed it with him ahead of time and he'd actually agreed to it, you would have been fine. But to make such a large purchase, not only with no discussion with your partner, but also to have made it for something that's not even for you, how can you not see you're the idiot? The other facts of this scenario aside, which I also think it's inappropriate to use this card for a luxury gift without talking about it beforehand. Do you think this wasn't an appropriate or mature response to your disagreement? I'm sure you both have valid points, but this line of argument does no one any favors, especially you for making it. You're an adult about to get married, and you have a child. You need to start communicating like a grown-up with your fiancé. Stop being immature with the threats of spending all his money. Grow up. My daughter's nearly adult closet is an absolute pigsty. You can't even see the floor. It's nearly knee-deep in stuff. I've been after her for weeks to clean it up, and she keeps saying I'll do it later. I had enough, and told her she couldn't go out with her friends or boyfriend until her closet was clean. Unfortunately, that week she had work and prior commitments at school, so she only had one free afternoon when she was going to go see her therapist. She's in therapy for depression and anxiety. She also was going out with her boyfriend's family on a day trip that following weekend, so I figured missing that would finally get through to her, to get it done after several weeks of constantly putting it off. But instead she canceled her therapy appointment, as it was her only free afternoon, because she didn't want to miss going with her boyfriend this weekend. Her therapist said I was wrong to do this, because she needed her therapy, and this was a dumb hill to die on. I told her she's been putting this off for weeks and won't listen, and I don't know how else to get through to her. I refuse to live like a slob. Am I the idiot? But I didn't tell her to cancel therapy to clean your closet. Actions. I said, if you want to go with your boyfriend or anyone else this week, this closet needs to be clean before then. I told her how she budgets her time is up to her. Just get it done. She chose to cancel the appointment to get it done. You are the idiot. You do realize that disorganization and messiness, or in your words slob, is one of the many symptoms of depression. Since her closet, and why are you worried about her closet, is still messy, she's likely still in a depressive state and needs to go to therapy. Talk about putting your needs above your kids, and your need is a clean closet and her personal space. A lot of girls with HD get misdiagnosed with depression and anxiety. So instead of picking a fight over the closet, it could use it to gauge the daughter's mental health and successes, and she might ask her daughter's therapist to think about whether there's any chance a ADHD might be involved. Too many women spend years being treated for the wrong issue and never getting better. She's wonder why she needs that therapy so badly. Up is blowing her top over her daughter's closet. She shouldn't be worried about it. Forcing your kids to clean will not make them clean people. Up sounds kind of like the controlling type of clean freak. But your relationship with your kid will be way better if you manage your own business, especially because this is a teen. I'm afraid I have to disagree. Pope's not the idiot. The daughter chose to cancel her therapy appointment over missing time with her boyfriend over the weekend. Let me repeat myself. She chose to cancel her therapy appointment over missing a weekend with her boyfriend to clean her closet. She could have still attended therapy, but instead she chose to cancel her therapy appointment. This IP people XD Prusit. Didn't tell her to cancel her therapy appointment over the dirty closet. Told her daughter that she couldn't go out with her friends or her boyfriend until the closet was cleaned, which as a teenager myself is completely reasonable. If the closet is messy like Ope states it is, it shouldn't be a whole day affair. That's if her daughter put her mind to it and simply cleaned her closet. It would probably be done in an hour, maybe 3. The daughter made her choice, but is blaming her mother. Missing one therapy session will not kill her daughter. And maybe from here, she may be able to keep her closet and room clean, so as not to have to deal with such a thing again. You live and you learn, but Opie still didn't make any wrong decisions. It was good parenting. Thy choices have consequences, and Ope is just being a mom and not letting her get away with it. I got pregnant a couple of months before I graduated high school. I was subject to relentless bullying from classmates, random teachers, and adults. Anisma attended the same high school as me and was in the same year, and was considered popular among our peers. She was one of the people who bullied me the most. She was relentless and made my life miserable, along with her complicit mother, my aunt, who loved to make comments too. My parents fell out with them over this, so it was minimum contact for years. My life was miserable because of them mostly, but I got through it. My then boyfriend got a job, and I did my degree online while working part-time, and we got through it. We're now married and both have very well-paying jobs. I now have a young child and another baby on the way, and I wouldn't change a thing. My parents adore their granddaughter, and her great-grandparents absolutely spoil her and love it too. Our families eventually made up through our grandparents, though this is fairly recent, and I don't see my cousin that much as I resent her. My cousin's unable to get pregnant and is medically infertile. She and her husband tried for a long time, and her husband recently left her because he wanted biological kids. She's understandably devastated. It was my mother's birthday and the whole family attended the get-together. I showed my mom the scans and revealed the pregnancy at the party. My mother and everyone else were overjoyed. My cousin didn't say much and neither did her mom, but I thought that was fair enough. Later on, I was cuddling my daughter and being silly with her, and everyone was telling me how lovely she was and how lucky I was. Finally, my cousin got up and left and slammed the door. Everyone said to let her sulk, so her mom took her side and said I was insensitive and should apologize. I told her I still hadn't received an apology for their ended or your failure comments, so I won't be apologizing to anyone. So she left too. My family is divided. Some think I should apologize to keep the peace, and some say I've done nothing wrong. I think I maybe should have been more sensitive as I see where it could have been salt in the wound, but I'm unsure about apologizing. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. It should never be on the bully to apologize to keep the peace. Put the onus on the ones. Retribution's responsible for the lack of peace to begin with. People say keep the peace because they fear the other's anger and reactions. This just allows bullies to keep being bullies. Do they understand what an apology is? Do they expect Doc to sit there and express sincere regret for having a lovely child and being pregnant? Do they really expect you not to treat your child with love and affection because they're around? It sounds like they're still the same idiots they were when you were in high school. You're owed an apology, a big one. No, that won't magically make her problems disappear, but you're owed basic human decency. I also don't think you were rubbing anything in her face. You showed your mom a scanned photo. Unless there's a chunk of this story missing here. I can't see what you did wrong. They'd have found out about the baby anyway, and then you'd have had it in the neck for not telling them. It looks to me like they'd always find a way to make you feel crappy. Congratulations on your new pregnancy. Sending you lots of love and best wishes. You don't stop celebrating life because someone else can't produce it. I totally agree with not the idiot and that Ope should not stop celebrating, but I don't agree with the can't produce it sentiment or the talk of karma. Being infertile is not a failure, a consequence of any action, or a just punishment. A lot of wonderful women are infertile through no fault of their own.